Last section, we dabbled with creating servers using the native capability of Node.js and also using some small, quick solutions that are using modules. This lecture and this section really is dedicated to Express.js. Express.js is the most popular framework that sits on top of your native Node.js server and exposes and makes it more simple to interact with it. So in this whole section, we're going to be covering starting up our Node.js, our Express server, enabling static files, routing files with Express, and routing paths with Express. We're going to respond with static files and understand how to work with moving files around and how to respond with files when you're running on an Express server. And we're also going to learn about how to use middlewares, how to create middlewares, and how to use the Express generator. So we're going to cover a lot of things. By the end of this section, you're going to really be comfortable and familiar with the environment of a Node.js server and Express.js more explicitly. So let's jump right into the first topic. And the first topic in hand is really to start up our very first Node Express.js server, kind of a hello world type of sample. In it, we already explained what is Express.js. Well, it's a framework that sits on top of Node.js. It is not a server because the Node.js itself, the technology, provides the server capabilities. Instead of that, it hides the complexities of Node.js and exposes an outer layer that is more simple to interact with. With that said, Express.js, similarly to Node.js, assumes dumbness. In other words, it does not want to tell you how to run your server, but instead of that, it wants to expose features and capabilities to enable other third-party solutions, even on top of it, other frameworks, to then have easy access to control and decide how does it want to respond to different server interactions. For example, Express.js as a server does not provide a capability to make sure that users don't have access to certain areas permission level, because it assumes that that is already assuming something about what we require about the behavior of the site, and it assumes that you would want to use a third-party solution to sit on top of it to solve those type of problems. Another example is that it does not solve the situation of no pages. Error in a page. It does not assume that if a page is not there, it is an error. It assumes that you need to act on it if you want to, but if you don't, then it's not an error from its consideration. Alright, so with that said, let's go ahead and create a new Express.js server, and with it our hello world to Express.js. Alright, let's set up our first Express server. Now you'll notice I'm in a new folder, move into your new folder, and let's get started. So I'm going to go into terminal, and what I want to do first is I want to set up a new package, a new install. So I'm going to call npm init, and I'm going to skip through the dialog and just create it. I have a new setup. I've created my package.json. It's ready. I have now a sudo application that's waiting to start being created. The next step that I want to do is I want to go ahead and install Express, and I'm going to go ahead and save it into our package.json, and I'm going to install Express. It will connect to the web, interwebs, and once it's connected into the interweb, it will download the package and install our Express server just like another package. And notice how I've done this locally. So this is not a global installation. Express was installed locally in the specific folder. Beautiful. Now I'm going to go ahead and just touch index.js because that is the file that is expected inside of our package.json. You can see our main file is index.js. Beautiful. Now that we have that, I'm going to go ahead and open that file up, and all the rest of the work is going to be done inside of that file. So the first step that I want to do is I want to require Express, and then I want to instantiate it and basically create an Express application. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to set myself a variable or a constant, and because this is going to be a one-time that we create the object, we're never going to replace it. And I'm going to go ahead and do the shortest constant that I could do, and I'm going to call it app, which is a common name that is used in the Express documentation. And I'm going to ask for require Express. And I'm going to go ahead and as soon as I get it, even without getting a name, I'm going to go ahead and run it. Basically assigning the value that comes back from my app right into our constant, which is called app, which is going to be our application. Now that I have my application or my Express application set up and ready, all that's left for me to do is to define the different paths and to set them up. So we're going to create the most simple hello world just as we've done previously. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the app get. And I'm going to set here what is the path is the first parameter. The second parameter is going to be a callback function. As remember, we're talking that we're going to be creating, because we're working with Node.js at version 6+, we could already use the latest versions of JavaScript. And in the latest version of JavaScript, I could go ahead and in my code, literally go ahead and use my function arrow functions, which will basically enable me to put here first, my first parameter is the request, the second is the response, and I'm going to go ahead and send that arrow, open a curly bracket, close a curly bracket, and there we go. We have now the response function that is going to be called whenever a match will happen to this get. Within this match, what I want to do is I want to send the response. I'm going to send in hello world, and I'm going to that's it. I really created the core of my application. All that's left for me to do is similar like we've done it in other HTTP requests and other applications that we've noticed. We need to listen to a certain port. And to do that, I'm going to call the listen, and I'm going to set the port to be let's do 3006 this time. And again, I'm going to create here a function, a callback function, an anonymous one using the arrow notation that is new to ECMAScript 6. And let me just go ahead here, and I'm just going to put here a console log. We are running on port 306. Beautiful, 3006 that is. All that's left for me to do is to actually run my application. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I'm going to go into my terminal, and literally what I want to do is I want to call Node, and I'm going to call index.js. And I'm going to go ahead there and run it. We're running on port 3006. And if I go back into my browser, I'm going to go directly to my local host, and I'm going to assign it the 3006 port. And if I go ahead, I'm going to see hello world. I've just created the most simple hello world Express. Okay, so we started off easy. And in the next lecture, we're going to build upon the simple structure that we've created and see how could we continue building out application, our server. In this lecture, we created our Hello World Express.js server. With that said, in the next lecture, we're going to take it a step further from just saying hello to the world, where we'll take a look at how do you enable static files using Express.js.